This isn't just a rugby match, it's a war of soul, pride, and legacy. On one side, the First Nations and Pasifika 15, a squad forged from ancient warrior bloodlines, carrying centuries of cultural strength, power, and resilience. On the other, the British and Irish Lions, a touring colossus, a team that doesn't just represent nations but centuries of structured dominance and tactical brilliance. July 22nd will be more than rugby. It's a collision of worlds, heritage versus empire, flair versus formula. The Lions arrive with their legacy, but will they leave with scars or supremacy? The rhythm of the haka meets the march of the Red Army, and only one heartbeat will echo louder when the final whistle blows. This isn't a game, it's a reckoning, and Beyond the Box Score is about to take you deep into the soul of it all. Every hit, every breakdown, every unstoppable truth. In the world of elite rugby, there are matchups that entertain, there are matchups that challenge, and then, once in a generation, there are matchups that redefine the meaning of Test match rugby. What we have before us today, First Nations and Pasifika 15 taking on the mighty British and Irish Lions, is one such seismic clash that transcends mere competition. It is culture, history, pride, and legacy all rolled into 80 ferocious minutes. This isn't just a game, it's a statement of identity from two powerhouses of rugby with very different DNA, yet bound by their deep respect for the sport. On one side, a collective of warriors whose roots dig deep into the soil of Pacific Islands and indigenous lands, a team that plays with spirit, freedom, and controlled chaos. On the other side, the carefully engineered juggernaut of the Northern Hemisphere, the British and Irish Lions, a side steeped in history, technical precision, and ruthless efficiency. And if you think this is just another warm-up, think again. This match has implications, for selections, for reputations, for future tours. So buckle up, because the prediction we're about to dive into pulls no punches and looks at tactics, form, player matchups, injuries, past trends, and the deep psychology of each side. Let's start with the cultural and emotional stakes, because if you ignore these, you're ignoring half the battle. The First Nations and Pasifika 15 isn't just a squad thrown together, it's a spiritual embodiment of tribal pride and heritage. You're looking at players who carry ancestral energy every time they take the pitch. Their pre-game rituals, their haka equivalents, their chants, these aren't for show. They're weapons of war. They unite the team emotionally before a single pass is made. And when you combine that level of motivation with physical gifts, the kind you only see in Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, Maori Aotearoa, and Australian Aboriginal lineages, you're talking about explosive rugby that can flip the script at any moment. Now contrast that with the British and Irish Lions. Here's a unit that runs like a Swiss watch. Everything is calculated. Everything is planned. They don't ride on emotion, they manufacture control. Built from the best of England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, this team represents the elite tip of the Northern Hemisphere's professional pyramid. They've been on long tours, they've taken down South Africa, they've gone toe-to-toe with New Zealand. They're tested, they're hardened, and they know how to win ugly when the flow isn't going their way. That's a vital edge in games like this. Tactically, what should we expect? This is where it gets deliciously complex. First Nations and Pasifika will aim to disrupt rhythm. They don't want a structured kicking game. They don't want long phases. They want offloads, broken play, and chaos. Their best chance is to create an open field and exploit their superior individual explosiveness. That means you'll see short inside balls, rapid-fire offloads, and wingers popping up in unexpected channels. Expect fireworks from players like Mark Telea, Rico Owain, or Solomon Alamalo, guys who can burn any defense in a blink. Meanwhile, watch for hard carries from Shannon Frizzell and Lucan Salakai Loto. They're going to try and physically bully the Lions pack early. On the flip side, the Lions will do what they always do, slow the game down, kick for territory, and suffocate you with set-piece dominance. Their scrum and maul are designed to choke the life out of flair-based teams. They'll use Owen Farrell's boot to pin the Pasifika deep, then unleash a brutal forward assault through Maro Itoje, Tig Furlong, and Jamie George. Don't expect razzle-dazzle, expect intelligent brutality. The Lions know if they can rack up phases, force penalties, and stay patient, the points will come. We also can't ignore defensive structures. The Lions will bring an aggressive blitz defense, particularly from the centers, think Robbie Henshaw and George North, trying to shut down the outside threats before the ball reaches them. That opens the opportunity for First Nations and Pasifika to use decoy runners and inside switches to target the Lions' overcommitted midfield. On the other side, the Pasifika defense will play with raw intensity, but their system cohesion can be a vulnerability, especially against smart playmakers like Dan Biggar or Marcus Smith, who thrive on exploiting disorganized lines. Now let's address form and injuries. The Lions come in healthy and brimming with form, especially their back row. Kalen Doris and Tom Curry are playing like men possessed, and the form of Finn Russell off the bench is giving the Lions a plan B that could be lethal late. For the Pasifika side, injuries to key playmakers like Lima Sopoaga and potential knocks to Tavita Karidrani may limit their backline fluency. That means more will fall on raw instinct rather than drilled combinations. From a discipline standpoint, the Lions typically keep their cards in check. But they've struggled with high tackle penalties against more agile runners. If the Pasifika 15 force lateral movement and one-on-one mismatches, they could draw cards, yellow or even red. On the other hand, Pasifika's biggest weakness is scrum penalties and offside infringements, especially under pressure. You give the Lions too many shots at goal from 40 out, and Farrell will bury you. Let's talk momentum shifts and the intangibles. This game will pivot on emotional surges. The Lions will try to nullify that by starting fast. They know the Pasifika teams ride emotional highs. If they can score early and frustrate their opponents, they could break spirit. But if the First Nations 15 come out with a statement, a try in the first 10 minutes, a monster hit, a dominant scrum, the narrative flips. The crowd will get into it. Energy surges, and suddenly the Lions are in a game they didn't want to play. Prediction: we're going deep, and we're going bold. The Lions are favorites. On paper, they're the safer pick. But rugby isn't played on spreadsheets. And this First Nations and Pasifika team isn't here to honor traditions, they're here to build a new one. Expect a clash of styles, but also a clash of eras. We are backing the First Nations and Pasifika 15 to pull off the upset, 27-24 in a game that leaves rugby purists speechless and statisticians scrambling. The Lions will dominate possession, but Pasifika's raw impact will turn a few moments into daggers. This isn't just rugby, it's a cultural collision packed into 80 minutes of territorial chaos, bone-crunching collisions, and tactical chess. So strap in, because the numbers don't lie, but they only tell part of the story. Let's go beneath them. Tactical blueprint, where this match will be won. Let's start where it always begins, the breakdown. The Lions pride themselves on order, shape, and structure. Think 70% ruck success rate under 3 seconds in their last tour. But here's where it gets interesting. The First Nations and Pasifika side thrives in chaos. Expect Artie Sevilla to disrupt the rhythm like a jazz musician in a classical orchestra. His breakdown turnovers per 80 minutes currently sit at 2.8, which is elite tier, especially against teams that love multi-phase ball. Now switch the lens. The Lions bring Courtney Laws, a man who doesn't just clear rucks, he removes souls. Expect his role to be less about jackling, and more about clearing path. His average of 11 tackles per game with a 94% success rate isn't just good, it's suffocating. But here's the kicker. The First Nations pack outweighs the Lions by an average of 6.5 kilograms per man in the front row. That sounds like scrum domination, but in mobility, it's a red flag, especially when the Lions shift pods wide, dragging defenders laterally with runners like Jack Van Porteviliot firing quick bullets at the base. Expect early fatigue in the Pasifika second row. Collision zones. The midfield war. The midfield is the theater of violence in this test. For the First Nations side, Samu Kerevi and Levani Bodia aren't just carrying threats, they're warheads. Kerevi averages 5.6 defenders beaten per match when fully fit. But it's not just brute force. His offload count sits at 2.4 per match, and that's where things get spicy. Because once you get behind the Lions' first wall of defense, their scramble structure has looked shaky, conceding 3 of their last 7 tries from broken play transitions. On the flip side, the Lions' likely combo of Robbie Henshaw and Ollie Lawrence brings power with patience. Henshaw's gainline success rate of 62% and Lawrence's 13-meter per carry average in Six Nations play show they aren't just bodies, they're battering rams with directional awareness. But here's the catch. Kerevi and Bodia are disruptors, not systems players. If the Lions can contain them and keep line integrity, they can squeeze the game back into their structured template. But that's a big if. Lineouts, mauls, and set-piece scenarios. You can't discuss test-level rugby without the mechanics. So let's talk lineouts. The Lions boast an 89.7% lineout success rate, driven by Maro Itoje, a cerebral assassin who lives in the air. On opposition ball, he averages 1.2 steals per game, which is nightmare fuel for any hooker under pressure. Compare that to Ben Taimaifuna's unit, who operate at around 82%. Not terrible, but against a British and Irish Lions maul defense that concedes just 0.4 maul meters per defensive sequence, it's a chasm. Expect the Lions to use the lineout as a launchpad, not just a set piece, and with Dan Sheehan throwing darts and Jamie George providing backup, the edge is clear. In scrum time, it's the immovable object versus the irresistible force. Taimifuna anchors a front row averaging 937 kilograms, while the Lions counter with precision and angle. The Pasifika side might win early penalties, but watch for the Lions to adjust with lateral pressure, forcing wheel resets and disrupting clean feeds. That's where Ben Earl will swoop. His ability to pounce on disrupted base ball is elite. Kicking duels and territory. Here's where the game gets razor sharp. The Lions win matches by controlling territory. Their kick-to-contest rate of 68% leads all Tier 1 nations this season. Finn Russell, love him or hate him, has evolved from maverick to maestro. His kicking map shows an average of 19.4 kicks per match, with 10.7 landing inside the opposition 40 meters. That is surgical. Pasifika will counter with Christian Liliifano, who brings maturity but limited range. His territory gain average is 24 meters less per kick than Russell's, a margin that snowballs over 80 minutes. The First Nations side must run from deep to compensate, but that opens risk. Especially against Cheslin Kolbe, whose counterattack threat ranks top 3 globally with 7 line breaks from kicks in 2024 alone. In essence, if Pasifika can't exit cleanly, they drown in their own half. Bench impact. Finishers versus fire starters. This is a tale of two benches. The Lions bring George Martin, Ben Youngs, and Marcus Smith off the pine, a trio that offers control, experience, and late-game composure. Smith alone has won 3 matches off the bench in the last year via clutch drop goals or last-phase play. Pasifika counters with Pita Gus Sowakula, Silala Lam, and Folau Fakatava, all dynamic, all raw. The risk: inconsistency. Lam's last 4 test involvements feature 2 yellow cards and 3 turnovers conceded. High ceiling, but a low floor. The Lions bench is a scalpel. The Pasifika bench is a grenade. Betting angles and SGP parlay. Let's get to the good stuff. SGP picks. Leg 1. Finn Russell anytime try assist plus 120 with the Pasifika blitz, expect overcommits. Russell's chip kick assist probability rises by 38% vs high press defenses. Leg 2. Over 2.5 offloads by Samu Karavi, priced at plus 140. He averages 2.4 vs tier 1 sides and gets more touches in broken play. Leg 3. Total points over 47.5. Both teams play open rugby in hot conditions, and both concede line breaks. Expect a 5-try game minimum. SGP odds. Plus 700. Stake lightly. This is fireworks rugby. X Factor watch. Keep your eyes on Lavani Bodia. He's not just a center. He's a rogue flanker trapped in a backline. In his last 6 appearances for club and country, he's averaged 4.1 turnovers, 11.8 tackles, 5 defenders beaten. Against structured teams, he's a chaos engine. If he wins collisions early, the game breaks open in favor of the underdogs. For the Lions, watch Tommy Reffell. He's not flashy, but he's surgical. The kind of player who racks up 18 tackles and 3 breakdown wins without a camera noticing. Every team needs a ghost. He's theirs. Final prediction. This game will be electric. The First Nations and Pasifika 15 will bring emotion, rhythm, and flash. But rugby at the test level is about minutes 65 to 80, and that's where the British and Irish Lions will wear them down. Expect a close first half. Maybe even a lead for the hosts. But in the end, final score prediction. British and Irish Lions 31. First Nations and Pasifika 15-23. Discipline, structure, and tactical kicking win this war, not just flair. If you live for the raw emotion, the bone-crunching hits, and the hidden narratives beneath every ruck and maul, then this is your arena. Before the scrum even sets, hit that like button to fuel the fire of our breakdowns. Subscribe to Beyond the Box Score, where rugby isn't just played, it's dissected, honored, and rebuilt for the diehards. This isn't a highlight reel, this is your rugby ritual. Drop your predictions in the comments. Who rises, who falls, and who writes history. And don't forget to tap the bell icon so you never miss a single tackle, turnover, or truth we uncover. The Lions are roaring, the First Nations are ready, and the story's only just beginning. Stick with us as we go beyond the scoreline, beyond the spotlight, straight into the rugby soul.